The November rain was thin but cold, turning the cemetery path into a mirror of gray stone and memories. Victoria Blackwood, the 55-year-old CEO of Blackwood Industries, walked carefully toward her son's marble tomb, her gloved hand clutching a bouquet of white lilies, her monthly ritual for the son she had lost 3 years ago. But that day something changed forever. A few yards from the grave, she froze. There, in front of the tomb that read, Adrian Blackwood, beloved son, 1989-2017, a young black woman in a waitress uniform knelt on the wet ground, holding a small boy who couldn't have been older than 4. Both were crying quietly, their grief raw and unfiltered. Victoria's chest tightened. She had never seen them before, yet something about the boy's delicate features made her heart skip. "Excuse me," Victoria said sharply, her voice slicing through the quiet drizzle. "This is a private moment." "You're in the wrong place." The woman looked up, eyes red but proud. "I'm sorry, I didn't know anyone would come today." "Who are you?" Victoria demanded. "And why are you crying at my son's grave?" The child looked up, and Victoria nearly stumbled. Those eyes. Bright green, unmistakable. Adrian's eyes. "My name is Jasmine Washington," the woman said softly. "And this is Tyler. I work at Bell's Diner. We come here because—" She hesitated, glancing at the child. "Because Adrian was important to us." Victoria's world tilted. Adrian had died in a car crash at 28, the only heir to the Blackwood fortune. After the funeral, Victoria had hired investigators to examine every second of his life. They had found nothing. No serious relationships, no fiancé, no child. "Important how?" she asked coldly. Jasmine met her gaze with quiet courage. "Because Tyler is his son, and I promised him I'd take care of him, no matter what." The lilies slipped from Victoria's hands, scattering across the wet marble. 3 years. 3 years of mourning. 3 years believing her bloodline had ended, only to discover she had a grandson, a black grandson, being raised by a waitress in a 1-bedroom apartment. But as Victoria looked closer, she sensed something deeper behind Jasmine's calm, a hidden fear, a secret too big for words. And what Victoria didn't know then was that this encounter was just the beginning of a battle that would shake her empire to its core. 2 weeks later. Victoria's private library looked like a war room. Files, photos, and investigator reports covered the table. Her assistant, David Chun, stood silently as she flipped through the documents. "Single mother, no family, works 60 hours a week, no savings," Victoria muttered. "Living in poverty. Not suitable for a child." "What about the birth records?" she asked. David hesitated. "That's the strange part. There are no official documents, no birth certificate, no hospital record. It's like the boy's biological mother doesn't exist." Victoria tapped her fingers on the table, the sound that terrified her executives. She had spent 3 years chasing meaning in her son's death. Now she'd found something new to control. "Set up a meeting with her," she ordered. "Tomorrow, 2 p.m. The confrontation. The next day, Jasmine arrived at the towering glass, headquarters of Blackwood Industries, wearing her best, and only, thrift store suit. The building seemed to dare her to enter. Victoria waited in her top-floor office, framed by floor to ceiling, windows overlooking the city by calculated display of dominance. "Sit," Victoria said, gesturing toward a chair that was deliberately lower than hers. "I'd rather stand," Jasmine replied. "Fine," Victoria said, opening a folder. "I've looked into you, Miss Washington. 2 jobs, no education beyond high school, barely scraping by. You can't provide the life this child deserves." "Tyler is loved," Jasmine said firmly. "He's cared for. That's what matters." Victoria smiled, cold and sharp. "Love doesn't pay for private schools, or tutors, or a future. A Blackwood deserves more than your best." Jasmine's eyes didn't waver. "What are you suggesting?" Victoria slid a check across the table. $200,000. You sign custody over to me. You can visit him on weekends. Jasmine stared at the check as if it were poison. Then she tore it neatly in half. "Are you trying to buy my son?" "He's not your son," Victoria snapped, her mask slipping. "He's my grandson, blood of my blood. And frankly, a waitress in her 20s can't offer what our family can. Jasmine gave a short, bitter laugh. Family? Tyler calls me Mom. I hold him when he has nightmares. I teach him math at the kitchen table. I read to him every night. That's family. Victoria stood. Noble words. But reality is harsh. You live in poverty. That boy deserves the world. And he deserves unconditional love, Jasmine shot back. Something you clearly didn't give your own son. The room went silent. Victoria froze like she'd been slapped. How dare you? She hissed. Adrian told me, Jasmine continued. He told me about the birthdays you missed, the games you skipped, the expensive gifts you sent through assistants. You want Tyler because you see him as a second chance, not because you actually care. Victoria clenched her fists. You don't know me. No, Jasmine said, but I knew him, and I know why he never told you about us. Then she smiled, calm, confident, unstoppable. The next time you want to talk about Tyler, it'll be on my terms. She turned and left. For the first time in decades, someone had walked away from a negotiation with Victoria Blackwood and won. 3 days later, Victoria's attorney called. She hired lawyers, he said nervously. Let me guess, Victoria scoffed. Some public defender? Actually, he hesitated. Morrison, Caldwell, and Pierce. Victoria's hand froze midair. One of the top 3 law firms in America, specializing in civil rights. And they'd taken Jasmine's case pro bono. That's impossible, Victoria whispered. Why would they represent a waitress? I don't know, the lawyer said. But they've already filed a petition accusing you of socioeconomic discrimination. If you try to take the child by force, they'll press charges for kidnapping. Victoria slammed the phone down. Jasmine Washington had just played her first card, and it was a powerful one. Meanwhile, Jasmine's small apartment buzzed with quiet energy. Around the table sat Dr. Michael Chun, a Columbia law professor, Amanda Torres, an award-winning investigative journalist, and an elegant older woman with sharp eyes and calm authority, Helen Washington, Jasmine's aunt. Aunt Helen, Jasmine said, hugging her. Thank you for coming. We've been waiting for this moment for 3 years. Helen smiled. Your mother would be proud. Remember what I taught you. Knowledge is the one weapon they can't buy or steal. Dr. Chun opened a folder. Jasmine, are you sure you're ready? Once this starts, there's no going back. Victoria will use every resource she has. I've been ready for 3 years, Jasmine said. Every night class, every law book, every contact, all of it was for this. Amanda looked up from her laptop. We've got solid evidence, corruption, bribes, labor exploitation, environmental violations. If we go public, Blackwood Industries will crumble. Jasmine's phone rang. Victoria. What game are you playing? Victoria snapped. How does a diner waitress get lawyers like these? Victoria, Jasmine said calmly, putting the call on speaker. There are things about me you still don't know. I don't care what tricks you're pulling. Tyler is my grandson. I have unlimited resources. Unlimited money, Jasmine said softly, but not unlimited power. Because power isn't money, Victoria's, it's truth. Victoria laughed. Truth doesn't pay lawyers. No, Jasmine said. But the truth about your illegal deals, shell companies, and bribery? That truth is worth far more to the right people. Amanda leaned toward the phone. Good afternoon, Ms. Blackwood. Amanda Torres, Metropolitan Journal. Would you like to comment on the evidence we're about to publish?